Thanks for tuning in to hear our talk about mindfulness, as that is our topic of this month's Live Well. Mindfulness, I feel like, is one of the most important, if we could even say anything's most important. It's just something that we can pull into every facet of our daily living. I was listening to a podcast on the way home that was talking about the how mindfulness, whether you're doing laundry or eating a meal, or taking a walk, mindfulness can really help us fully stay present in our daily living activities, our conversations with people we interact with. Practicing mindfulness is really just kind of a cornerstone, I feel like, for a way of living. And so tonight, me and Diane Mankis is here joining us, and are going to talk some about the basic tenets of mindfulness. John Kabat-Zinn is kind of the keystone of putting all of the mindfulness research and literature out. So many of you may be familiar with his work. There are so many individuals who speak on this, so I'm going to be sharing some of his work tonight. And really, I just want to make sure we understand from the beginning that mindfulness does not require any particular religion or belief system. It is really a way of being. It's not something that you acquire. It's very simple. It's just a way of living. It's a way of being and existing, that we are in the present moment without any of the typical things we maybe bring into our life where we're judging or having a critic or having a strong ego. It's really what we're going to get into tonight is some of the just basic 7 principles that I believe, if we all live by, kind of helps the world be a better place. So with that, I'm going to kind of just take these one at a time. And Diane, feel free to chime in as you talk about maybe mindfulness and the benefits of each of these principles in your life. So just to get started, non-judging. I know I just used the word inner critic. So many of us have critical background of people who parented us, or just how society can be so critical. And the number one, I believe, most important tenet of mindfulness that I love is the non-judging. It's about taking the impartial witness of your own experience or anything that's happening around you. So really letting the judging part of you not be present, to where we can just notice neutrally without assigning good or bad, or trying to categorize any experience anyway. It's really just allowing it to be what it is without our own interpretation that can often be very critical. So I feel like for ourselves, being non-judging to ourselves is really a compassionate way of being that can take the critical tone, critical view out of, our mind's eye. So anything you might add, Diane, about non-judging and being neutral about experiences?
I guess I would say that you have to learn. It's in learning mindfulness that you learn to know when you're being judgmental. You know what I'm saying? It's such a way of life, being judging and being judging of the self and judging of everything around you. It's just such a way of life that's where the switch turns and you go, oh.
Yeah, absolutely. It just becomes a natural. And I think we have to even bring new words into our vocabulary and our language about how we describe things. For instance, someone cooks something that you've never had before, and your initial reaction is, ooh, that's bad, or unpleasant, rather than that's interesting, or I'm curious about how that's different from what I'm familiar with. We're almost bringing new words to our vocabulary to describe experiences that maybe we would otherwise label as some judgmental word, to where we can really be more just like I said, interesting, or this is different, or I think we get so black and white and binary in describing things in our daily living that it's good or bad or this or that, instead of just open to non-interpreting whatever the experience is.
That's
So,
off any curiosity, doesn't it?
yes, it does. Yes. I mean, the beginner's curiosity is so key. And, whether you call it beginner's mind or beginner's curiosity, it's really that we're not bringing our preconceived notions about anything we've experienced to whatever this is. So we're really letting go of our, all of our, I guess, previous experience was something that we think this is how it's always going to be. I mean, I hear people a lot of times will say, I know how she's going to react, or I know how this is going to go. And so we're pre-planning what any experience is rather than letting it be its own unique evolution of the moment. And so, for instance, I went to this restaurant and had a bad experience. I'm never going back. I mean, that cuts us off from growth and possibility and experience. Or I went to this town and didn't like it, or I went on a cruise one time and didn't like it. So many times we have a bad experience with a person or a situation, and we determine that to be the way it always is. I went to a yoga class one time and I didn't like it. I never went back. Or people in recovery out here. I went to an AA meeting one time, didn't like the speaker, never went back. I'm like, there's millions of meetings and millions of teachers and millions of counselors and millions of experiences that sometimes we shut ourselves off from by judging and not having that beginner's mind or beginner's curiosity.
The curiosity comes in because you can say to yourself, well, I think I don't like this. Why you said I don't like this? Where is that coming from?
Yeah. Yes. And, just knowing that each moment is unique and contains unique possibilities. And every time we're in a new situation, it is new. I mean, there are so many variables that we just don't even consider that can turn something that was a previous negative experience can become a positive experience the next time we attempt it. And so, not limiting ourselves to our previous beliefs or previous experiences or previous times, trying things and being open to the
previous interpretation.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I mean, I think about relationships. How many times people, oh, I love someone so much and then I lost them or they hurt me, so I'm never going to love again, and cutting yourself off from the possibility of love because of a bad experience. I mean, so often, people limit themselves from possibility. And so staying mindfulness is teaches us to not limit our interpretations and being open and seeing it with that beginner's mind, to where it's like trying something for the first time. It's like being in it for the first time, new, without judgment or without interpretation. So I'm thinking of which that leads us into next. Non-striving. I love non-striving is one of the tenets of mindfulness, where we're not trying to be something, we're trying less and being more, where we're just not putting in, not feeling like we're always clawing to get somewhere, but we're just naturally evolving there. I feel like so often with self-improvement, people make goals or these plans that are often feel like so much effort has to be put in instead of just paying attention, watching, allowing, letting things unfold, trusting that things will be okay without having to do everything all the time. Being able to just be in a state of being more than doing, where we talk about human being instead of human doing. I really love the non-striving aspect of mindfulness.
That's really not part of our culture.
No, no, I mean, capitalism, particularly, we're clawing to get to the top. And so many have been trained, and that's at the core of how people believe you have to be, climbing to the top. And that can really be the root of perfectionism, overachievement, workaholism, so many problems come from that. We must strive.
I'm thinking the energy that you put into striving, you're having this experience and you're having it with blinders on because you're putting so much energy into striving on this path that you've preordained you need to go on, and then you're missing everything else that's outside of it and around it.
Yeah. Yes. One of the statements that I saw him say was the best way to achieve your own goals is to back off from striving and instead start to really focus on carefully seeing and accepting things they are moment by moment. With patience and regular practice, movement towards your goals will take place by itself. And it's almost like we're letting life be life rather than forcing or controlling, making things be certain ways, I think, which is what we get caught up in. So much control gets caught up in with striving and trying to be.
I think that need to strive, it just comes from a basic just valuing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not there yet. I'm not good enough. I have to work really hard because I'm not adequate.
Yes. Yes, those core negative beliefs of unworthiness and not good enough, inadequacy are certainly the fuel in the tank for those of us pushing ourselves to strive. And, there's so many rewards, that kind of come from achievement that just fuel that fire even more. So if I have low sense of self-worth, if I have intrinsic negative beliefs about self, and then I'm striving and achieving and doing, and I'm getting the praise and I'm getting raises, I'm getting, promotions, I'm getting bigger houses, I'm getting more money, whatever those drivers and the rewards are that just continue to fuel that, push towards striving and achievement.
To condition us to keep doing it.
Yeah.
We don't always
Yes.
like we have a choice, I think sometimes we just feel like this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. And it also comes in with mindfulness to step back and to look at that and say, it's kind of a circle, because if you don't step back and look at where that striving is or is not getting you and why it is you're doing it, you just keep doing it, and you just until you get sick. And then when you get sick,
Yeah. I mean, I think that's where people get caught up with, their identity being what they are and what they're achieving and their role in that process. And yeah, like you said, I mean, we often see people then maybe who either through sickness or age, retire, whatever, and it's like, who am I? What am I? I'm only what I was doing, and I lost sight of what I was being and didn't fully experience life along the way, and can really miss out on living if you get caught up in that striving as a way of living.
I was just read recently about something about that, about yoga, because as you age, if you make yoga about doing perfect poses, then as you age, you're not going to be able, perhaps, to keep up with that. And then you have to come to some knowledge or some halt and say, is that what it's about?
Mm-hmm.
About, and I don't have to do it perfect. And
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
that, yeah, it's a developmental thing, isn't it? Can you be with yourself even when yourself isn't what you think yourself was supposed to be?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that leads right into acceptance. I mean, where we accept things the way they are, our bodies the way they are, our life, um, you know, so many things that acceptance really is the answer to. I mean, if there's one, I love in my first 17 years in this career being done in addiction treatment center as a counselor, the acceptance passage of AA. I mean, that starts with acceptance is the answer to all my problems. If I find any circumstance unpleasant, et cetera, if I can just accept that the way it is, it really decreases the negative emotion that I'm having about whatever the situation is. So allowing things to be the way they are, just noticing and letting it be with acceptance is such an important piece to where it's like, this is just the way it is. And how many situations can be less stressful if we just say it is what it is. Say that very frequently.
Is that it? Okay. Yeah. Oh, living, not processing your life from where you think it should be, processing your life from where it is.
Yeah, life on life's terms. It's like this is the way it is right now, and this is where I'll be, rather than trying to control it, change it, fix it, shift it, make it what it's not. It's accepting a full acceptance of where things are. Acceptance is not passive. It does not mean you have to like everything and abandon your principles and values. It doesn't mean you have to be resigned to tolerating things. It doesn't mean that you should stop trying to break free of your own self-destructive habits. But it is the willingness to see things as they are. And if we can allow things to just be what they are without the judgment, without the trying to change it, fix it, control it, I mean, that's really where peace, our inner peace, comes from. How often, we hear people talking about trying to change a person, a situation, a boss, a kid, a diagnosis, whatever it is, rather than just, this is the body I have, or this is the car I have, or this is the person I'm with. What can I accept about this rather than controlling, fixing, changing? Our weather. I mean, our weather. We cannot change our weather, so we have a rainy day. I wish it were different. How can we accept the rain and see its goodness and its value on the day that we wish was sunny, and know that the water is a part of the cycle that is necessary, and instead of frustrating about it raining, accepting the rain. So I think the weather is a big way we can kind of practice that.
Yeah, because if you're spending all the energy wishing things are different than they are, gosh, what a waste.
Yeah, when you can't change it anyway.
You can't change it anyway.
I mean, certainly there are some things we can change, and why I love the Serenity Prayer. I mean, it it is the Serenity Prayers, says to have the wisdom about what we can change and what we can't. Like, we can make changes if we're not happy with a situation. We can do something different often. And also, there are some things we can't change. And trying to change something that you can't control or change is futile and leads to so much misery.
And with the Serenity Prayer, change the things I can change. Part of that is being able to accept this is how it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I can accept that I have some responsibility for this is how it is right now. And yeah, there's acceptance threaded through it all.
Yeah. And that right now is like in this present moment, it's raining outside. It's not going to rain forever. There will be sunshine, the rain will end. Or in this present moment, I have an excruciating bad headache. It's not going to last forever. It is going to change. And I can accept it as it is right now in this moment.
Yeah, and you're hitting on impermanence, and that's a big piece. And and I think in mindfulness, really, that know what changes. Things change. So you're not tying yourself up because you think it's always going to be this way.
Mm-hmm.
Everything
Yeah.
changes.
Yes. And the um the the thing that I guess I'm thinking about which other of these life tenets to go with next, but trust is one of the ones on my list. And trust, I think, is a part of all of that, in that we trust that it's going to, I mean, it's hard. I get it's hard for people to say we just trust things are going to work out, but they do. I mean, part of mindfulness is trusting that, it's trusting ourselves, it's trusting life to unfold, it's trusting that even if something happens that's not the way you want it to happen, there is still this essence of okayness about yourself. Like, I'll be okay. I mean, I think in mindfulness, we trust ourselves to be able to handle whatever circumstances we run into, and that we will figure our way through whatever that is. It's kind of trusting life, trusting ourselves, trusting our ability to navigate, and really to kind of hold less fear, because we have an inherent sense of trust that, yeah, I'll figure this out. I don't, whether I'm walking into a new situation that I've never been in, trusting my ability to handle myself to get through it, and knowing that even if it's a disaster or a failure, it's not the end of the world. It's trusting that most of the time we just figure our way through things, and it's not the end of the world, and life is okay, even if that thing we don't want to happen happens. For instance, I lose my job. Okay, you'll be okay. You find another, you figure it out, or whatever that greatest fear that you have, knowing that you have some sense of trust in yourself and in life.
I think that requires some sense of the inner self, because if you are sometimes trusting the outer self that the world judges and evaluates, it's just it can backfire. So coming to some sense of yourself beyond all the stories you've been told or that you tell. There is some essence of goodness there that's trustworthy. But that means you have to be self-reflective. That means that be mindfulness what comes first that you're going to react.
Mm-hmm.
But we become probably, maybe, perhaps, we can be more self-trusting when we're more mindful.
Yes.
We're mindful when we're more self-trusting. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because we're present, we're tuned in, we know ourselves. We're not, you know, so dysregulated or running or escaping. It's like we feel solid and grounded. And that comes from practicing mindfulness and the practices that reinforce that. We have a sense of stability that even if the boat's rocking, we can find some balance and ability to not tump over.
I like that idea that we have more trust when we're grounded. I like that grounding piece as kind of like the fountain of trust.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's why the practices are so important. And, this morning in yoga, when we did a tree pose, I mean, the balance poses, I think, create a situation where we feel wobbly and we're not sure about our stability, and then provides that opportunity to really center and ground into the earth, connecting us to our body and knowing that we can find we can find balance and we can be stable even if forces around us are unstable. So the reason for the meditation classes, these talks on these topics that we do, the practices for the body, are all to help us have an inner wisdom, that inner knowingness that comes from the practicing and the reminding, not just our brain, but our body of what it's capable of.
Wow. And it's so troubling sometimes when, we try to offer these things. We try to offer what we know from our experiences has been helpful and what other people know is helpful. But people come to it when they're ready. And it's hard.
Yeah.
But they may not come to it in our time, the time that we have in mind for them to come to it.
Yeah. Yes.
It's a process. It's a journey.
Yes.
Journey for other people too. And you don't know, like you offer this and one person comes and then you don't know how, but you can trust that that's going to have a more far-reaching effect than looks on the surface.
Yes. Yes. And I think that can lead us into the seventh principle of letting go. Letting go is not having any worry about whatever it is. That, yes, we're having this talk on mindfulness tonight, and it's you and I. And if you and I just remind you and I of the importance of this way of living, this world is a better place in that you and I are practicing this. And if one other person chooses to listen to this talk or attend one of the classes that supports this way of being, that's another life that's experiencing living a little easier and better. And every one person, I mean, the domino effect of that, I believe, is so powerful. Where so it's like letting go is not making meaning about, or not, like I said, worrying about whatever the outcome is. It's letting go, letting it unfold, letting um, things be the way they are, and just watching and allowing. And um,
I really do believe that the more able I am to do that, the more of an impact I can have. Because just grabbing it and holding on to it and waiting for the outcome, and it just screws it all up.
yes,
So I can say, yeah. There's a one thing that we talk about sometimes in yoga about letting go is, what does it mean to let go? What do you let go of? And I like this phrase. It says that you let go of reacting, of being
yes,
reactionary. That
yes,
you can pause, and you don't have to force it. It all lines together pretty well, what we've
yes,
already talked about. But yeah, so can you get to the place where you're clear-minded enough that you can just see things as they are and let go of the need to change them, because you trust because you trust that it is going to evolve out to be okay.
yes,
That's
and
powerful. That's a hard lesson to learn.
yes. And I mean, I think we have the opportunity to, yeah, every day when you look at the news, every day when you see whatever's going on the outside that you wish you might could do something different about. And while there's just so many things that we have to let go and trust, that even if we don't like what's happening, we don't know yet what's on the other side of that. And like with all growth, I mean, there is often painful processes and growth that we think, oh, we don't want to bear that pain, but it's a part of the growth. And so resisting discomfort can often be resisting whatever the fruit of that discomfort is on the other side. And I think when we can use all of these principles, go
Some
ahead.
people argue that all of this makes you passive, uh, and it doesn't. It doesn't have to. It doesn't mean you're passive. It doesn't mean that you don't take a stand. It doesn't mean that you don't uh, try to be the posture of what's right. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
do that. And that's see, this is a place where it's an individual journey, and some people may not be not ready at this moment to see that.
Yes. Yes. And as you said, I mean, it doesn't mean you can't advocate and support and um, bringing, you can put energy towards bringing about a better circumstance, a better world, and also let go of the outcome, knowing that even though you might pour yourself into whatever that purpose mission is, I mean, there's any number of outcomes possible, and you can control it.
You follow your path, you do your dharma. And this is a big premise in yoga, and you give up any concern about the outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And, with anxiety disorders, stress disorders being the number one health condition, in my opinion. I mean, most of the debilitating disorders are all stress based, and they're all about control and worry and fury and striving and trying to make. And I believe all of those are improved if we can begin to practice and understand what it means to bring mindfulness into our lives, using meditations, using our breath, using the tools available to help us live in more peace and harmony. And every individual who does that spreads more peace and harmony. And that's what feels like our responsibility to
I
me.
like the concept, the word presence. That to be present in this moment with whatever it is and whatever the sensation, but being present now, because anxiety is worrying about what already happened and anticipating what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And this opportunity that is right now.
Right. Right. And doing that, if we worry about past and future and all the things, I mean, the effect on our immune system, our heart, our nervous system, the inflammation, mood disorders, cortisol levels. I mean, so many of our markers are impacted by living in worry and fear, and all of the um, opposite of mindfulness things. So I do hope that people will um, be curious about learning more about mindfulness and ways to incorporate mindful practices into their life so that you can have a better well-being.
Yeah, I think I guess I come to some thought that it's why the body's so important, because just talking like we're talking, it probably sounds like gobbledygook to some people. And
Mm.
so if we can just come back to the body, so what do you feel? What's the sensation? What's the sensation you have right now? Um, that's just like the little snippet of taking a step forward.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just noticing what you're noticing. I notice I'm breathing in. I notice I am breathing out. And if you are breathing, you are living. And that's really all that we need to notice sometimes. Mhm. So, yes, well, I certainly value your contribution to this mission of LiveWell and helping inspire people to live more mindfully. And you're quite the example for that. So I certainly value you and your addition to this
And
conversation.
I'm where I'm supposed to be, doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I can't
Yeah.
explain.
Yeah. And again, back to we never know. I mean, COVID, for instance, introduced you and I to each other because of the challenging of the times and the way things were, and how we were having to try to figure out how to bring things to people, even though they were in their homes. And there's just, it's like that was a terrible time, and some positive things happened as a result, even though some negative things happened. It's like it's all it's all life. There's good, there's bad. I mean, we just accept what it is. We trust, we don't judge, we try new things with beginner's eyes and figure it out as we go. So this has been one of the beautiful relationships to come from that. So cherish you. And thanks for being here. As we will continue this month, art classes, and yoga and meditation, all the things we're offering this month. We do have meditation retreat in June. I don't know if you're able to, if you're around then, Diane, but I'm hoping that's going to be a wonderful retreat as well. So just stay involved in growing and learning more ways to incorporate mindfulness into your well-being.
I
So,
know that Sarita's going to do it, and I don't plan to come, but every now and then I come across something and I go, oh, Sarita could use this. But I haven't thought to send it to her. But
well,
maybe I should. Yeah. Honestly, full disclosure, I always heard about John Kabat-Zinn, but I never studied John Kabat-Zinn directly. And so when you said we were doing mindfulness this month, so then I ordered 3 books by him
uh-huh.
and made that my study, and because I think I've been exposed to mindfulness is a Buddhist, or can be a Buddhist practice. It's
Yeah.
certainly a yogi practice. And so I think I've known about mindfulness and the witness and all of that. But so this just, and I sent this book to my son, and he told me that he said it's just so serendipitous because he just had a conversation with his wife that day, and they said wherever you are, wherever you go, there you are. They said that to each other, and then
Wow.
they went out, and on the doorstep was this book.
Life has a way of doing that, doesn't it?
Things work out. Things
Yeah.
work out. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you, dear. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.